The movie is set in the near post-apocalyptic future, where the sea levels have risen due to rapid climate change. This has made the Earth mostly uninhabitable, so a group of scientists ventured into space to find a solution. After years of research, they built 80 large shelters on the Earth's and Moon's orbital planes. Then, for the next few decades, 90% of the human population slowly relocated there. As for the remaining 10%, they were against the plan and thus decided to remain on Earth. For the first few years, everyone lived peacefully. But then, the citizens of some shelters formed a radical group known as the Adrian Republic. They began attacking the other shelter inhabitants. The Adrian Republic wanted to absorb all the power for themselves and eliminate anyone who came in their way. Fortunately, the remaining humans formed an allied force, resulting in decades of brutal warfare. In the first scene, we are introduced to Captain Yun Jung-yi, a brave mercenary of the allied forces. She has led her team to countless successful missions against the Adrian Republic, and is still going strong. One day, she is seen valiantly fighting her way through an army of enemy mechanoids. However, during the battle, she gets shot in the fingers, which reveals that she is actually a robot. Even Captain Yun didn't know about this, leaving her in utter disbelief. The next second, she gets deactivated, and the whole setup is shown to be a virtual fighting simulation. It's then revealed that the robot is actually an AI version of Captain Yun, as she has been in a coma for 35 years. 3 minutes in and we've already got enough twists for 3 Shyamalems. Captain Yun got fatally wounded during a battle, but since she was the best fighter the Allies had to offer, they are trying to bring her back again. Afterwards, several researchers and scientists approach the robot and run some diagnostics. They are from a tech company called Chronoid. Shortly after, Dr. Yun Seo-hyun, the team leader of the research project titled Jung-yi, enters the simulation room. She is actually the daughter of Captain Yun, and her main objective is to memorialize her mother as a war hero rather than a failure. So, she, along with many other researchers at Chronoid, have copied Captain Yun's brain data to install them into android bodies, naming the project Jung-yi. Later at a meeting with the higher-ups, Chronoid director Kim Sang-hoon explains that through the simulations of Captain Yun's final failed mission, they have been trying to extract combat memory data that could be used to develop an exceptional AI. However, in every simulation, the robot fails for some unknown reason, maybe because they're extracting the data from a mission where she failed. As a result, the higher-ups are dissatisfied with the Jung-yi project and instead make snarky remarks about how Captain Yun could have ended the decade-long war between the Adrian Republic and the Allied forces if she had completed her last mission. After the meeting, Director Kim informs Seo-hyun that the higher-ups have agreed to greenlight the project, provided that the AI passes the simulation test. Kim comes off as the hilarious sidekick who believes in the Jung-yi project and aids Seo-hyun all the way. Later, a new staff member, Jae-kyung, sparks a conversation with Seo-hyun. After running some diagnostics on an android, he mentions that he is a big fan of Captain Yun and considers her a superhero. After a while, Seo-hyun reveals that the only reason her mother became a mercenary was to pay for her treatments, as Seo-hyun had suffered from cancer when she was a child. However, on the day of her surgery, which was successful, Captain Yun had been called on a mission. This proved to be her last one, which left her in a critical condition and eventually a coma. In the present, Seo-hyun finishes work and goes to take her ethics test. This is a requirement for all Chronoid employees, which helps to differentiate robots from humans. On the way, she remembers the last time she had seen her mother. The two had hugged and rubbed each other's cheeks right before Seo-hyun's surgery. Afterwards, she goes to her doctor for a normal body checkup. When the x-ray scans are out, unfortunately, it is revealed that Seo-hyun's childhood cancer has returned, and now she only has 3 months left to live. The doctor informs her that her best course of action will be to copy and transfer her brain data to a prosthetic body. He then proceeds to explain the different categories of the bodies, starting with an expensive Type A prosthetic body, which will grant her equal human rights by the government. He also explains that if she chooses to opt for the less expensive Type B, the government will be allowed to access her brain's data, and that some fundamental human rights like marriage, freedom of movement, and adoption will be prohibited. The last option being Type C, which the government will provide for free. However, certain companies will be permitted to exploit her brain data and can make clones out of it. In other words, Type C is basically signing up for TikTok. After their session, Seo-hyun asks to see her mother, and it turns out that the doctor is also an android. The scene then cuts to a flashback from when Seo-hyun is young. She recalls learning that her mother did survive the mission, but is now in critical condition. The Chronoid team visits Seo-hyun and her grandmother, where they manage to convince to pay for Seo-hyun's schooling and living expenses in exchange for turning Captain Yun's body to a Type C, prosthetic body. Eventually, her grandmother agrees to the condition. The movie then cuts to the present, where Seo-hyun visits her mother and sees her all wrinkled and old, still in a coma. A few days later at Chronoid, the AI model number 18 is activated and is ready for the simulation. However, this time, Director Kim suggests that they do something different, so he orders the researchers to shoot the android in the leg. Once the simulation starts, the android has a difficult time fighting back and is overpowered by the enemy robots. But before they end the test, all of a sudden, a new area of the artificial brain, indicated by yellow strobes of light, is activated, and the Jung-E robot fights back with full force. The entire project members are thrilled with this breakthrough, especially Kim. So, the next day the team heads to the main Chronoid HQ to inform the company chairman of this advancement. Turns out all we had to do was piss him off, sir. However, once there, they are approached by the new product development manager, who informs them that the chairman is unavailable. Kim is enraged and is confused as to why a military-based company would need a product department. The manager, however, makes light of Kim's anger and laughs at him before leaving. After the disappointing attempt, the Jung-E team head back to the Chronoid lab, where the newly made brains are now ready to be simulated. There, a staff member informs Kim that the chairman is waiting in his office. As they enter, Kim is suddenly deactivated, and in a shocking turn of events, it is revealed that he is actually the first prototype created by the chairman himself. Meanwhile, Seo-hyun explains their amazing breakthrough to the chairman, but he isn't impressed. He instead announces that a peace treaty between the Adrian Republic and the Allied forces is underway, and that the civil war is now going to end. Since the combat AIs will not be needed anymore, the manager orders Seo-hyun to halt the Jung-E project. The hard work will not go in vain, however, as the AI's collected data will be used in household work. The chairman also reveals that he will destroy Kim once everything is wrapped up. This breaks Seo-hyun's heart, as she has dedicated almost all her life to bringing her mother back. In the next scene, the group continues with the Jung-E project to give it a proper conclusion. However, during the simulations, Director Kim is angry and upset that the AI keeps on failing at the same time and location. He demands an arm to be cut off to activate the yellow part of the brain, but to no avail. Since shooting the AI in the leg previously helped activate it, Kim heads inside the laboratory and opens fire into the AI, making her scream in pain. The sight horrifies Seo-hyun, and when she cannot stand it any longer, she takes control over the AI and shuts it down. When she refuses to turn it back on, an enraged Kim points a gun to her head. This results in a heated confrontation between the two, but fortunately, they are interrupted by a staff member who informs Kim that the chairman is waiting for him. After the scary encounter, Seo-hyun finds out that one of the Jung-E AIs has been mysteriously taken by the new employee, Jae-kyung. Wasting no time, she visits his room, only to discover that the AI is fully stripped. Horrified, Seo-hyun covers her mom's body and immediately pins Jae-kyung against the wall. Gasping for air, he explains that he got orders straight from the headquarters to test out the sexual capabilities of the Jung-E models, as they can make tons of money if marketed. This enrages Seo-hyun even more. How could you be so depraved? These aren't for sex, they're for killing people. And she tries to choke Jae-kyung, but right then, she remembers that her mother's brain is type C, which can be used for any company and product, disheartening her. Later, Seo-hyun runs into Director Kim, who is also upset about the discontinuation of the Jung-E project. Before leaving, he informs her that the team is allowed one more simulation test. If they cannot come up with anything conclusive, all of their hard work and research will go down the drain. In the next scene, Seo-hyun goes into the AI lab and activates a Jung-E model that Kim had previously laid waste upon. She is critically wounded, and the best option would be to terminate her. The AI also accepts her fate, but before Seo-hyun deactivates it, the yellow part of the brain suddenly appears, and the AI shockingly inquires about her daughter. Then she shows human emotions and recalls seeing her daughter for the last time before going into battle. Hearing this, tears stream down Seo-hyun's face, and she informs the AI that her daughter's surgery was a success and that she is in remission for cancer. The AI is relieved, and she also remembers that Seo-hyun had given her a doll right before her surgery. Currently, she has lost the doll and is very upset about it. Seo-hyun puts two and two together and realizes that all the Jung-E AIs had failed in the simulation after spotting the doll near them, which distracted them from the battle. Later, Seo-hyun deactivates the robot and begins to cry profusely. happy after talking to her mother in an emotional manner, which means that its brain cloning is almost perfect. So the next day, before the simulation, Seo-hyun hooks the Jung-yi AI up by herself. After everyone leaves the room, she finds out that the yellow part of the AI's brain is actually the memory of her daughter. This was the only reason she was failing the challenges in the simulation. Now that Seo-hyun knows about the cause, she deletes it permanently. Shortly after, the test begins, and everyone is upset as it is their last one. As expected, the AI gets shot at the same time and falls to the ground, failing the simulation test once again. After the test ends, Jae-kyung notices that this specific AI test result is quite odd, but Kim ignores him and leaves the room unhappy, followed by Seo-hyun. However, shortly after, Kim smells that something fishy is going on, and so he returns back into the lab to double-check the simulation. To his shock, it's revealed that the Jung-yi model didn't get shot, but rather faked it and pretended to deactivate. Kim immediately locks the place down and initiates an emergency lockdown. Meanwhile, the guards who are escorting the Jung-yi AI back to her chamber are confused by the alarm. Taking advantage of the distraction, she disarms them and runs away. When Kim gets to know of this, he activates all the combat AI prototypes to find and terminate Jung-yi. Elsewhere, Seo-hyun deletes all of her mother's brain data so that it can never be cloned again. In the next scene, Jung-yi enters a room full of her clones, taking her by surprise. The bad guys also arrive and try to take her down, but the legendary Captain Yun's AI is simply too much for them to handle. However, when the combat AIs keep on coming in numbers, Seo-hyun rushes to the room to help her mom. At an opportune moment, she transfers her brain into one of the newer combat AI's models, deceiving everyone. The mother-daughter then flee in a futuristic sky rail train, but Kim is not going to let them get away so easily. He follows them there and even shoots Seo-hyun in the shoulder. Furious, Jung-yi fights Kim and shoots him in the eye, making him realize that he is also, in fact, an AI. The two then start tussling with all their might, and to make matters worse, the AI police also show up and open fire. At this point, it appears as if all hope is lost, but when Jung-yi notices her injured daughter trembling on the floor, she gains renewed motivation. She turns into a cold-hearted killer and takes on the bad guys one by one. Eventually, Kim is thrown from the train, and all the other robots are also defeated. Afterwards, Jung-yi begins to help Seo-hyun, but the latter begs her to leave as she hears the police sirens in the distance. Seo-hyun tearfully claims that the AI is free now and tells her to run away and live her life the way she wants. Jung-yi reluctantly agrees, and she gives her daughter a final hug. The two also rub their cheeks, just like they used to when Seo-hyun was a kid. It is then revealed that the AI has not forgotten about her real identity as Captain Yoon Jung-yi. Seo-hyun calls the AI Mother and wishes her luck before she escapes. The AI turns back and says, "Hey, beep boop beep." The movie then ends with Seo-hyun slowly succumbing to her injuries, while the AI gazes at a mountain range and embraces